So, you know how sometimes in sports, you see a team get absolutely destroyed in the first half, and you just turn off the TV because there's no way they're coming back? Like, it's over, done, might as well go do something else with your day. Well, what I'm about to tell you is the complete opposite of that. This is about the greatest comeback in golf history. And I'm not exaggerating when I say that what happened at the 2012 Ryder Cup was so unbelievable that even the people who were there couldn't quite process what they were watching. This is the story of how Team Europe pulled off something that seemed absolutely impossible. And if you think of it, this wasn't just about golf. This was about never giving up, even when literally everyone has already counted you out. Okay, so first, let me quickly explain what the Ryder Cup is, because if you're not into golf, you might not know. The Ryder Cup is basically the biggest team event in golf. It happens every 2 years, and it's Team USA versus Team Europe. Now, golf is usually this individual sport where everyone's playing for themselves, you know? But the Ryder Cup is different. You're playing for your team, for your continent, and the pressure is just insane. The format is pretty simple. There are matches spread over 3 days. You win a match, you get a point. You tie, you get half a point. First team to get to 14.5 points wins the whole thing. And in 2012, this thing was happening at a place called Medinah Country Club in Chicago. So here's where our story really begins. After the first 2 days of competition, Team USA was absolutely crushing it. Like they were up 10-6 going into the final day. And if you know anything about the Ryder Cup, that's a huge lead. That's the kind of lead where people start planning the celebration party. The American team was playing incredible golf. They had guys like Tiger Woods, Phil Mickelson, Bubba Watson. The home crowd was going absolutely crazy. Every time an American player made a putt, the roar from the crowd was just unbelievable. You could feel it through the TV screen. And Team Europe, they looked tired. They looked beaten down. Their captain, a guy named Jose Maria Olazabal, he's trying to keep everyone's spirits up, but you could see it in their faces. This was bad, like really bad. Here's the thing, no European team in Ryder Cup history had ever come back from more than a 2-point deficit on the final day. Never. And this team was down by 4 points. 4. So, the American captain, Davis Love III, he's already thinking about his victory speech. The media is writing articles about how dominant this American team was. It was basically over. Now, the final day of the Ryder Cup is called Singles Day. This is where all 12 players from each team play one-on-one matches at the same time. It's chaos, it's drama, and on this particular Sunday morning, it was supposed to be a coronation for Team USA. But Jose Maria Olazabal, the European captain, he did something interesting. He loaded his lineup. He put his best players out first. Guys like Luke Donald, Ian Poulter, Rory McIlroy, Justin Rose. The strategy was simple. Get some blue on the board early, get some points. Make the Americans feel a little pressure. Just make it interesting, you know? And the Americans, they had a solid lineup too, but they didn't stack it quite the same way. They figured, we've got a 4-point lead, we don't need to panic. So the matches start, and right away, something felt different. The energy shifted. Luke Donald, he beats Bubba Watson. That's 1 point for Europe. Then Ian Poulter, who had been playing out of his mind all weekend, he beats Webb Simpson. Another point for Europe. Now you could feel it. The crowd got a little quieter. The Americans started looking nervous. And the Europeans, they started believing. Rory McIlroy almost missed his tee time because of a time zone mix-up. Can you believe that? The best player on the team almost doesn't show up, but he makes it, rushes to the first tee, and he ends up beating Keegan Bradley. Another point. Justin Rose beats Phil Mickelson. Another point, and this is where it gets crazy. Because now, it's not just about winning matches anymore. Now Europe actually has a chance, like an actual chance to pull this off. You could see the body language changing on the golf course. The American players, they started missing putts they would normally make. The crowd, which had been so loud and confident, they got real quiet. That nervous quiet, you know what I mean? Where everyone's holding their breath. And the European players, they were feeding off each other. Every time someone made a putt, every time someone won a hole, you could see the energy spreading. Paul Lawrie came back from 4 down to beat Brandt Snedeker. That's basically impossible in match play golf, but he did it. Sergio Garcia was playing out of his mind against Jim Furyk. Martin Kaymer, who everyone had written off, was holding his own. And gradually, match by match, Europe was clawing their way back. Now, eventually it came down to this. Europe needed to get to 14.5 points to keep the cup, and the whole thing came down to a handful of matches that were still out on the golf course. Sergio Garcia closed out his match with Jim Furyk. Europe was at 13, just one more point, and they'd tie, which would be enough to retain the cup. And here's where it gets even more intense. Martin Kaymer, this German player who had been struggling with his game, he's out there on the 18th hole playing against Steve Stricker. And Stricker was a really good player. And Kaymer and Stricker were all square going to the 18th hole. The entire European team is out there watching. Olazabal is walking with them. You could see grown men with tears in their eyes because they couldn't believe what was happening. Kaymer gets to the 18th green and he's got a putt. It's not a short putt, maybe 6 feet or so, but if he makes it, Europe wins. If he misses, the door stays open for the Americans. Now, if you think of it, imagine the pressure in that moment. Your entire team is counting on you. Millions of people are watching, and you've got to make this one putt. Kaymer stands over the ball. The crowd is completely silent, and he hits it, and the ball rolls and drops into the hole. The place just erupted. The European team rushes onto the green. Players are crying, hugging each other, falling on the ground. Olazabal is sobbing. This was his first time as captain, and he just led his team to the greatest comeback in Ryder Cup history. A few minutes later, in the final match of the course, Francesco Molinari halved his match with Tiger Woods, adding the final half point. On the American side, you could see the devastation. These guys couldn't believe what had just happened. They had a 4-point lead. They were playing at home, and somehow they let it slip away. In the end, Europe won 14.5 to 13.5, the exact margin they needed. People call it the miracle at Medinah now. And you know what? That name fits. Because what happened that day shouldn't have been possible. Mathematically, historically, logically, it shouldn't have happened. But sports, especially team sports, they're not always about logic. Sometimes they're about belief, about momentum, about refusing to give up even when everyone's telling you it's over. The American team was devastated, obviously. Davis Love III, their captain, you could see how much it hurt. But eventually, he said something really interesting. He said that his team would learn from this, that this loss would make them stronger. And you know what? He was right. The Americans came back fired up in future Ryder Cups. But for Europe, for Olazabal, for guys like Poulter and McIlroy and Kaymer, this was their moment. This was the day they proved that in sports, it's never over until it's actually over. And that's what makes this comeback so special. It's not just about the golf shots or the putts or the strategy. It's about a group of guys who refused to quit, who believed in each other when no one else did, who somehow found a way to pull off the impossible. So the next time you're watching a game and your team is getting destroyed, maybe don't turn off the TV just yet, because you never know. You might be about to witness something incredible, something that people will be talking about for decades. That's what happened at Medinah in 2012. And honestly, I don't think we'll ever see anything quite like it again.